Okay, let's talk about staging a read-only domain controller. So we've already walked through the process of creating an RODC. We can stage one or pre-create it in Active Directory and then have it added into the network a little bit later on. So you do this in a situation where you were having a server, let's say, drop shipped to a remote site, and you wanted to pre-create all of the Active Directory information so that when it got there, someone else without administrative permissions on the domain could join into the network, and then it would pick up its RODC configuration. So we're going to do this in Active Directory users and computers. And here you can see under domain controllers, you can see the RODC that we created, our read-only domain controller. So to create or pre-stage another read-only domain controller, we'd right-click and we'd go to right here, pre-create read-only domain controller account. And now when the domain controller attempts to join the domain, it will find this information, it will pick it up, and it'll use it. So I'm going to click next, and then I'm already signed in as an account with domain admin privileges, so I can use my current account. If you're not, down here you can set your alternate account and set credentials that have permission to add a domain controller to Active Directory. So I'm going to set the computer name, and we're just going to call it George just for the fun of it. So the full name will be george.dalton.local, and that has to match exactly what the read-only domain controller is going to be named. If the names don't match exactly, then it won't be able to find its account in Active Directory. So we're going to verify our computer name. Now, this is where we're going to select the site that it goes to. And like I said, normally you'll do this if you're drop shipping a server to a remote site or something like that. So you'd pick the site that you wanted it to go to. Now, since we only have the one site, we haven't played with sites yet, we're going to go ahead and do it for our existing site. Now, it's going to examine the DNS configuration. This actually may take a few minutes. So we're going to let it run. I'm going to hop out of here and pause our video, and then I will pick it up again once our DNS examination is complete. Okay, so we've finished examining our DNS configuration, and this is what it comes up with. We have our additional domain controller options. So we can make it a DNS server, a global catalog server, and this one's pre-checked and we can't get rid of it. That makes it a read-only domain controller. And then we just choose the options that we want for it, and we click Next. All right, so this is where we set the account that's going to install and administer our RODC. So this should be the user who's going to unbox the system, put it in place, log into it to install it as an RODC, and then it's going to administer it from this point on. Now I can put in a name here, or I can click Set, and it'll allow me to search Active Directory and find the account that I want. So this then will be our administrator. And you can do either a user or a group here, either one works. So click Next, and then this is just going to summarize what we've got so far. So we're going to create a computer account for an RODC in the domain for this site with these options, and when we're satisfied with it, we click Next. And then finish, and here is George, our domain controller. Now you'll notice this is an unoccupied DC account, or an unoccupied domain controller account. It means we have pre-staged it. You'll also notice that it is down here. That means this server hasn't actually joined the domain and taken up this role. All right, so that allows us to pre-stage. So now the person who goes to install this domain controller doesn't have to have domain admin privileges. We've already done all the stuff required on Active Directory. Now, I'll right-click on this and go to Properties. And just like we looked at before, on our other domain controller, we have our password replication policy, so we can go ahead and pre-configure that password replication policy as well. And then everything is set up and ready to go as soon as that server shows up at its final location. Now I want to show you one other thing right here, and that is deleting one of these accounts. So I can right click on George and go to delete, and this will delete the domain controller from the network. Now, there are a few things here. And these are options. The default options reset all passwords for user accounts that were cached. So that's going to require those users to contact the help desk to get a new password. You don't have to do that, but one of the reasons that this is an option is we might be deleting this account because that machine has been stolen. And so by forcing the users who had their passwords cached there to reset the account, even if it gets compromised, those users will now have new passwords. We can do the same thing for all computer accounts. And then this right here, list or export the list of all accounts that were cached on this domain controller. So by doing so, and again, remember this can come into play, let's say RODC gets stolen from somewhere. By exporting those accounts, then we'll have a list of everyone who is impacted so we can let them know they need to contact the help desk, get their passwords changed, so on and so forth. Once you have the options that it's satisfied with, so it won't let me delete because I haven't actually set a location to export. I'm going to go ahead and remove that option, and then we have the option to delete. And away we go. So that is how we stage and then delete a read-only domain controller in Windows.